Indiana native Kurt Vonnegut told a 1974 graduating class that the number one American killer wasn't cardiovascular disease, but actually loneliness. A 2010 study of social relationships found that lack of social connection increased the risk of premature death as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. In 2023, the Surgeon General released an advisory titled Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, and it said half of American adults report feeling lonely. Health is Wealth is presented by Meridian Health Services, with support from Lifestream Services. This epidemic of loneliness is not new, but it feels urgent. I talked with Mandy Williams from Lifestream Services, a local nonprofit that supports aging adults and their caregivers.
I think loneliness is a pretty critical problem at this point. I think it has been for a number of years, but the pandemic, when it started in 2020, really brought to light the number of individuals that are either isolated or experience feelings of loneliness. And here at Lifestream, we see that extensively, especially in the older population who face additional barriers when it comes to connecting with others and connecting in their communities. They might have barriers in transportation. They have smaller social circles. A number that live in rural areas have family and friends who might have moved away to other areas. So we see, for example, a number of older adults who are homebound and receive home-delivered meal programs. That might be the only person they see a day is their delivery driver. So while the meal and the nutrition is really important, that face-to-face interaction, just a hi, hello, somebody checking on them once a day to make sure they're up and about and doing okay, that's maybe just as, if not more important than the meal itself.
I came to this project with a mental image of the loneliest Americans as these older adults who are homebound or in assisted living. But a survey of 20,000 Americans reveals the exact opposite is true. Gen Z is actually the generation most likely to report feeling lonely. Mandy drew a distinction between two terms that we often use interchangeably, loneliness and social isolation.
So seniors tend to be more socially isolated, meaning they lack access to programs or experiences or things that bring them together, whereas younger adults don't. But older adults don't necessarily feel lonely as a result, and younger people do. When the pandemic started, we heard social distancing. That was probably the worst thing we could have called that. We needed to come together socially, not distance ourselves. We needed to be physically distant for safety reasons, but socially we needed to be connected. And I think older adults found that in faith communities, in workplaces, in smaller towns. Again, now younger adults have access to the entire world, but they lack those built-in pieces of fabric that connect us in a smaller way.
The way that I've learned to look at it is it's kind of like a clock. There's a second hand, a minute hand, an hour hand, right? Loneliness can be like intimate, like partners. It can be fringe and social, like a minute hand, or it can be like our connection to the community or the world or the cosmos as a whole, like how we fit in. So any one of those that are off, you can't really tell what time it is.
Corey says face-to-face interactions are really important, but not all face-to-face conversations have the same relational value.
Even in face-to-face kind of situations, we can still be missing the kind of intimate connection that comes with vulnerability, that comes with listening and real empathy. The important thing is to make our relationships and our connections as valid and as honest as we can. I think that helps a lot of people in our community as well as ourselves. It's just proven to help our health.
So if you're trying to fight loneliness, it's going to be important to build new habits. Corey has a great example of a keystone habit.
One of the things I do that's fairly simple is to walk in my neighborhood. Like over a period of time, I've just consistently walked in a 2-block radius around my neighborhood and met people and talked and interacted with people while I'm walking. And that can mean the world to somebody. You see somebody with a very kind of a dark disposition, and you say hello and they brighten right up. It's surprising how valuable that can be to our health.
As someone who often goes for walks with headphones in, it strikes me that this keystone habit is very simple, but it's not easy. Along those lines, Mandy gave me a keystone habit that's even more basic, and it's a phrase: commit to connect.
There's a lot of different ways you can do that, right? A lot of different places and people you can connect to, but that phrase, I have to commit. I have to decide that this is an intention I'm going to take and really make a change in lifestyle and in my health. I think we have to view it from that perspective first.
We do any habit because it's comfortable. That's almost the definition of a habit. But the process of creating a new, healthier habit is anything but comfortable.
You might have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and consider this a space for growth. It's a new skill you might be learning in terms of how you meet people or new places that you visit. So you might have to get a little bit uncomfortable to be more comfortable in the long run.
If you're ready to commit to connect with us by leaving a comment and sharing this video. In our next episode of Health is Wealth, we talk about how habit change can lead to a movement. And I'll introduce you to an organization that I think is doing this in a powerful way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.